Bomba!
Ciencia que todo el mundo.
Well, good day, familia. This is Ray Collazo, your host of Bomba Live, the show you've been waiting for your entire life. Thank you so much for joining us. That was a video of actually very playful resistance, if you will, very festive, bien boricua, at Ocean Park in Puerto Rico in 2022. And that was in some ways what started our very special guest journey in this phase of her journey to advocate for the people of Puerto Rico and the island and specifically the land and really the essence of what makes the island of Puerto Rico. I'm so proud to have, I think some of you may or may not be aware that we've had a series, a terrible incident, a terrible series of incidents that have been happening where essentially illegal development has been threatening and to try to privatize illegally the coastline and the beaches of Puerto Rico, which are for the people. They're not for private hands, and especially people not from the island and people regardless of where they're from that don't have the best interest of the island of Puerto Rico. And so I wanted to bring someone on Bomba Live that's on the island, an activist that's not only on the front lines of activism to assure these things are not taking place, but also it's very helpful in communicating to us what's happening on the island, particularly for the Puerto Rican Latino activist community based here on the island. Activist, conservation activist, and mother, and that's part of her journey as an activist as well. So proud to have Wilmar Vazquez on Bomba Live. Wilmar, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Ray. It's a pleasure being here and talking about this very important issue that we really need the diaspora on board with it and to know what's been going on here in the island.
It's critically important. I want to shout out our mutual friend, Dean Huertas, as we say in the street, one of my young boys, one of our young guys, and who brought us together. I encourage people to follow not only Wilmar, but also Dean on social media. They had a Instagram live with Eliezer, is it Molina? I always forget his name.
Eliezer Molina, yeah.
Eliezer Molina, who's a very celebrated activist if you follow Puerto Rican activism on social media. So Wilmar, why don't we just start with, we're going to talk in a moment about your activism and learn a little bit more about you, but why don't we just start with sort of the incident that brought us together. So tell us what happened in Aguadilla on January 29th, and then we're going to see a video clip of this terrible incident that took place.
So it's been, brought up in different news sources that security from illegal development in Aguadilla shot protesters, activists who've been very vocal about this issues going out throughout the island. But this specifically in Aguadilla, it's about an illegal construction built on top of a cave. The cave is called Cueva Las Golondrinas. It's been reported to authorities since 2018. It's been reported to DRNA, which is the Department of Natural Resources here in Puerto Rico. The EPA knows about it. There's a violation of the Clean Water Act, which is a federal law against water pollution. And this developer, his name is Carlos Roman. He has not only built this illegally on top of a cave, but there's another development like right next to it that is called the Cliff. The Cliff is a project that he has like several illegal permits because they have not permitted him to hacer extracción de la corteza de la tierra, which is like, to dig that part of the rocks. This part specifically in Puerto Rico is very special because it's called the El Carso del Norte, which is the Carsic region. The Carsic region is very important because we have water um, resources that it's stored underneath this rock, and this rock filters the rainwater and it stores it underneath. So it's a very special mineral that we have in all of Aguadilla, Quebradillas coast, and all the north of Puerto Rico. And there's special laws that protect it, but somehow political investors have gotten their way, with Puerto Rican laws, and they can do whatever they want with our coast, and then they can privatize it, and that's why we're against it. So when we went to the pacifist protest against this development, we're trying to convey all the agencies to do their work and to revoke the permits. There was an order of demolition issued on May 20, 2022. So it was May of last year, where DRNA ordered all of this construction to be demolished and for all of the cave to be restored to its original state. Nothing has happened. And they kept building, and they kept destroying like the whole cliff. So activists have gotten really vocal about it. And so we gathered in boats, because it's the only access we have is through boats. Like, you can't access it from the municipal. There was a municipal way, like a road where you could go in walking or with bikes, or like you could do a family trail and you could walk throughout the whole project. But now, since it's all privatized, we have to get in private boats that get us to the pier. It's El Muelle de Azúcar, which is a very famous pier in Aguadilla, which is where the sugarcane industry was very big in Aguadilla, and it was exported through that pier. So it's national patrimony. Like, that's our history that has been privatized and neglected us of that. So we have to get in private boats in order to get there, and then climb up. And they've set like a little perimeter where they have security guards with guns. We didn't know they were loaded. And when we started saying, there's a demolition order, like, you don't have the permits, everybody knows this is public domain. It's been a news all over the world that what you're doing is illegal. When people started to try and get across those barriers, one of the policeman, the security guys, they shot at the manifestors. So he started shooting at everybody, and they actually got one of the protesters shot on the leg.
And what's his name?
He's Richie, but his name is Angel. He's actually named. I've always known him for Richie because he's a Carey. There are like different camps of activists throughout the whole island, and I've seen him every time I go to Rincon to like be in the camp or whatever. He's very vocal about it. His partner Laura Nazario is the president of Campamento Carey. So they're very active in this fight against privatization, and I'm like so hurt, that it's gotten into this far where like it's violence already involved, and I don't feel it's going to come down from that. Like,
Wow.
and that's what makes it so scary, because we're even risking our own lives in order to protect our land because the government is being an accomplice to this.
Well, Angel and his partner and you and your family are true heroes for our community. Vilma actually is shared with us a video that she took during the event. So we're going to show it, and Vilma is going to kind of give us some commentary so people can really see what happened here. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm just amazed that nobody's already been thrown in jail for this. So let's bring this up here, and Vilma, again, just set the stage for what we're looking at here.
Okay, so right now, I'm talking. We're trying to read the demolition order to the guards, the security guards. What you see in the back is a horse stable. He has built like horse stable over there, and there's like es un salón de actividades. Like, he rents that other salon right there for activities, and they have like a whole view of the bay, of the Aguadilla Bay. All you see over here, those fences, they kept it there to keep the people
So those are the shots, and you didn't know those were live bullets at that time.
No, until we got in when the police came down and we started counting the bullets on the floor. That's when everything hit. Like, oh my God, this was real. Like, this was not
Mi
pellets.
gente, esto es lo que sucede, ¿verdad? Cuando las agencias no hacen su trabajo.
I'm saying, like, this is what happens when
Mire la
local
policía
agencies,
de
they don't
abajo,
do
mire
their
la
work.
policía de abajo.
We can see
Mire la
Fura,
policía
which
de
is the
abajo.
policeman down there. They
De
have 2
Fura.
boats. And then
Que
they're
son
like
quienes se supone que
more than
intervengan con
6
este tipo de
patrols on
situaciones.
the
¿Por
entrance
qué
of
la
the
guardia
boat. So the
privada?
police have set like a little camp in the entrance in order to escort the trucks to come in with building materials, even though they have a demolition order and an order to of cese y desista, which means like you should stop building until DRNA studies all the permits that you have. Like, are they valid? Are they illegal? We have one of our main resources, which is Pedro Cardona Roy. He has a channel called El Urbanista, and he's a planner and architect. I believe he studied in Harvard planning and architecture, and now he's a professor over here. But he helps us by breaking down all the technicalities with permits and planification and zonification, because it's so dense and so complex. Like, normally if I get to like see this on the news, I'm gonna stone out because it's so much information.
And just to be clear for people watching this and watching and listening to Wilmar Vazquez, conservation activist from the island of Puerto Rico, and part of Campamentos Pelicano and Carey. It's already been acknowledged by the Puerto Rican government that basically what they built out and the barriers and everything else is illegal. Yes. So they're supposed to, and you said we're going on almost a year where the demolition order was happened. So to this point around, well, this is private property. In reality, it isn't, because they're the squatters. They're the ones that have essentially illegally built and also not only preventing the public to enjoy some of this beautiful wildlife, but also there's also an environmental. Can you talk about the environmental impact?
Yeah.
Of this illegal building that they've done.
So since they built it on top of a cave, like building on top of any cave is illegal because the cave, it's empty, so it's not going to withstand the weight that you're going to put on it, by building a structure. So it's going to cave in eventually. We've seen like there have been several earthquakes since 2022, 2021. It was my birthday. I remember it was January 7th when the earthquake started. So, and after that, after that, they just kept coming. So we've seen Ponce, Guanica, and all the south of Puerto Rico, how those infrastructures have been brought down because of the earthquake. And Aguadilla is also in another like fault, where the Puerto Rico is like on 2 plates. Like, it has the North American plate and the Caribbean plate. So it's very like there's so much activity going on right now. But environmentally, as I was talking about priorly, this is the Karst region, El Carso de Puerto Rico. The Karst region is very important because it helps filter the water. The rain, when it rains, that water comes in that rock and it's like a sponge. And then it keeps the acidity out and then it filters the water. So we have like rivers, underground rivers. We have El Río de Camuy, which is one of the biggest underwater rivers in the world. Like, Puerto Rico has so many amazing biodiversity all throughout. Like, we have dried forests, we have a rainforest, we have karstic regions, tenemos salina. We have so many beautiful resources. But the fact that we think about progress in a way that's like building a city and, and just putting cement all over everything and killing nature, I feel it hurts us in the end because we're losing so much value to the world, not just to our island, but the biodiversity that we have here. Biologists from all over the world come here to study it. So it's so important to conserve it, to respect it, and to understand the value that we have and the responsibility we have to protect this for future generations.
We're talking to Wilmar Vazquez on Bomba Live, the talk show you've been waiting for your entire life. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your leadership. Before we go, we're going to take a break in a moment. And then when we come back from the break, I want to ask Wilmar what we can do as activists that don't live in Puerto Rico to support the good work that's happening with the various campamentos. But before we go to break, Wilman, please let us know, how is Angel Luis Torres, the gentleman that was shot? How is he doing? How's his family doing? And the other victims? Because even if you weren't hit physically, I know there was, some people there was a lot of trauma, people that were
Yeah.
traumatized because there was bullets that went through clothing, went through hats. So how's Angel doing physically and emotionally, and how's the rest of the people that had to, and your family that had to experience this terrible incident?
I mean, I feel Angel is a warrior. Like they all know, even though we don't want it to be like this, we don't want it to turn violent. We don't want it to get to this level of, either life or death. But I feel we all know what we're risking here. And it's so much worth, like, each of our life. This is bigger than any of us. It's Puerto Rico, it's our land, and even if we have to sacrifice our own bodies to protect it, we're willing to do it if the Puerto Rican government doesn't do it, So he's doing way better. His leg is healing. The bullet came across the whole leg. They did x-rays to make sure it didn't penetrate an artery, but thankfully they give him, like, they discharge him the same day in the hospital. Since I talked to Laura and Richie and Angel, I'd say Richie because I know him as Richie Angel. They were trying to do like a report on the hospital to get to the report and then file una querella with the police, but that has been horrible. Like, the same day I was waiting for everybody to give me the information. I had to drive all the way to San Juan just for me to go to the el cuartel and hacer la querella, like report it. I needed to report the incident, and it was just so complicated. We tried to do it on the side. When you saw that all the policemen came down, like this waited for a few minutes. Like, this happened, like the shooting happened, and then like 15-20 minutes after the police being there, then they came down after hearing the shots. So we tried to do the report right there and file the report, but nobody was able to like sit down and file a report. So we see it as another fault in the system, where it's like we get accused of being terrorist. I'm sorry, we get accused of being terrorists. We get accused of being communists, of being anarchists, of trying to destabilize the government. And it's like the government is already destabilized. Like, you've done that yourself. We're
Well,
just
who's the terrorist
exactly.
that's building on private land, or public land, that's building, that's trying to destroy the environment in Puerto Rico, and that's shooting at families that just want the public land to be public for our families and for our community to
Just
enjoy?
follow through with the laws that you wrote. Like, there
Yeah,
are laws here. There's a law and order. There's check and balances.
this was an
And
assault. I mean, all those people were threatened. You were there with your young child. I mean, it's
yes,
unbelievable.
I was there with
Anything could have happened. Thank
my
God
husband.
nobody.
I'm currently pregnant. Like, I didn't
Oh my
know.
God,
I was like, setting myself up to like almost being shot at. I would have never put my
terrible,
family like through that
terrible.
knowingly. And ignorant people might say, then why are you there? Like, why do you put yourself there? Because nobody else is doing anything. And I don't feel represented by the people that are like either trying to convey that their steps, into this negotiation. Like, we need to talk to. I personally talked to the mayor of Aguadilla. I've seen representatives sit down with some of organizations, like environmental organizations, and people who were in the La Junta de Planificación, the planning board, trying to explain to the secretary and representatives why this is illegal and why we need to move fast, because it was going to escalate. Like, people were warning authorities beforehand, like,
That's right.
this is going to get bad if you don't do your job. And that's exactly what we
With
have.
Bon, let's take a quick break. We'll come back, talk a little bit more about this incredible situation. And again, I encourage people to follow. You have it on the scroll here. Campamento_Pelicano_Aguadilla for more information. There's some rallies and some events coming up in the coming days that Wilmar's going to inform us about. Wilmar, you're going to see some clips of previous Bomba Lives I think you're going to enjoy. Then when we
Okay.
come back, we're going to find more about what's going on in Puerto Rico and how we can support um, our activists that are trying to preserve the land that is ours as Puerto Ricans. More with Wilmar Vazquez on Bomba Live.
Ustedes nos pueden explicar un poco sobre el momento histórico que estamos en Puerto Rico después de huracanes, terremotos, una revolución política y cuál es qué significa para ustedes como creadores de películas, gente que hace medios, en contar esta historia y también mostrar la cultura y los artistas de Puerto Rico.
Wow, qué pregunta.
Significa un mundo entero, porque significa que estamos poniendo nuestra historia puertorriqueña y lo que nos está ocurriendo como pueblo al frente, in the forefront, para que continuemos hablando acerca de lo que está pasando, porque para nosotros Puerto Rico es importante. Y Milton, no sé si quieres añadir. Significa un mundo, por lo menos para mí personalmente, poder contar una historia que es importante para Puerto Rico y que cuenta básicamente todo el sufrimiento que hemos tenido históricamente.
But the most important part is the rum. So I already poured it out. This is about a cup and a half. If you put more than that, it's just super strong and that gives you that nice heat that some people are looking for.
Then you're gonna fall asleep with the parranda.
Yep, you're gonna fall asleep with the parranda.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance. It's okay.
I am going to blend away. Hold on, here we go. You hear that magic?
Oh man. If only virtually we could put it through the screen.
Oh, I know, right?
I'm picking up my 2 bottles tomorrow. I already got my appointment.
Oh my God, look.
I'll be ready for
Christmas
Christmas
magic.
Eve.
I already have a cup. It's already beautiful and ready to
That is
go.
awesome. Well, listen. Welcome back to Bomba Live, the talk show you've been waiting for your entire life. There's your host, Ray Collazo. Follow Bomba Live on social media at Bomba Live PR or Bomba_Live on Twitter. And we're on TikTok now, so you can follow our clips and sort of best of Wilmar Vazquez between Calle de Resistencia and Making Coquito. I mean, you can't get no more Puerto Rican in this show. And we're talking to environmental activist Wilmar Vazquez about the terrible situation having Aguadilla. She's broken down for us sort of this the need for activists from the Campamentos de Aguadilla and Carey to stand and be very strong that this illegal construction needs to come down. The order took place last May, and what escalated from that peaceful protest was literally a shooting that resulted in Ana Luis Torres, aka Richie, being shot in the leg and others being shot at, traumatized, threatened. And Wilmar was explaining to us that we're still sort of banging our heads against the wall to try to get the authorities to arrest the shooter, the security guard, and it's been reported on what this gentleman's name is, apparently, and to find justice for not only Angel, but also for, the people of Puerto Rico. Wilmar, before we get into what activists can do, particularly those that don't live on the island like me and others watching this, how did you get into environmental activism? What drew you to this work?
I studied political science, like that was my major in college. So I've always been very drawn to Puerto Rico history and political history. And I've been very curious about our constitutional, where are we, and our constitutional rights, because as American citizens, we have certain rights when we move to the mainland that we don't have here in the island. Like, for example, as long as you get on a plane and go and live on the mainland, you can vote, or you can register to vote for the president and for Congress. Over here in Puerto Rico, we don't have that. We can only vote for local government. And there are like several other, things where victims of La Ley Foraker, which means like we pay so much for everything we consume here in the island. And just colonialism as its whole, it's intrigued me so much. Like, how do things, when they tell us we live in a place of law and order and we're part of like the biggest nation in the world, how is this our reality? And in January, I saw something happening in the beach. Like, I'm Caribeña, yo soy costera. I love the beach. I grew up in the beach, so it holds a very special place in my heart to keep it, for everybody to enjoy, not just Puerto Ricans, tourists, whomever. the focus is those beaches are of the people, and it's our responsibility to maintain it that way. So in January of 2022, there was a video circulating about this couple that they were against a group of athletes setting up a beach tennis court in Ocean Park, which is my beach. That's where I grew up at. And I was so furious about the fact that this lady kept bugging, this athletes that they couldn't set up a court there because that was her beach. She had bought a house, apparently $1 million house in Ocean Park. And so she felt she owned the beach and she could tell them to go, off. Her husband was American. And that brought a whole commotion because of Law Act 60 and Act 2022. And like, it's such a fragile, such a sensitive topic that I felt like a need to do something. So I put, and like I said in my social media jokingly, who wants to go to who wants to do a beach tennis tournament Saturday on Ocean Park? And to my surprise, everybody pitched in. Everybody was excited about it. So I had 4 days to plan a tournament, and somehow life, the universe, God connected me to amazing people who, as I was worried about, they were worried about, setting straight that the beaches belong to the people. So we had local stores that were donating water, Gatorade for everybody, for all the athletes. We had a DJ. We had like 6 or 7 tennis courts. We had a whole tournament with like cash prizes. So it moved really well for it to be like 4 days.
What's funny, Wilmar, is
Yeah.
that when that happened, I shared it, and that initial video really went viral with Puerto Ricans up here. And then when that event happened, I shared it. I thought it was really cool and unique and very Puerto Rican. I had no idea you're the one that organized that. So kudos to you. And so that really kind of started you, it seems like, on this journey around the, not just the environment in general, but like, how do we preserve our coastlines, our beaches, for not just for the environment, but for the Puerto Rican people? Because, and I know many of you probably, if you weren't already aware of these issues, became aware of them even by following journalists, like local journalists like Bianca Gralao, or watching her documentary that was sort of built around the Apagón video. And I know a lot of Puerto Ricans that I know sort of got aware of the urgency of this situation by Bianca's leadership, and we'd love to have her on the show and continue these conversations with people like you. Wilmar, so we're at this situation. We still the property still being illegally held by this company and built with the building that they did.
Yeah,
nobody's been arrested yet for shooting Richie. So I know people are like very upset watching this, and I know there was people's comments when I started posting like, "Why has anybody got arrested? What's going on?" So what can we do as activists before we talk about the event that we had?
Let me clarify that 6 people got arrested. None of them were security guards. All of them were.
Oh, you all got arrested.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
6 from our people, and they're all very vocal, very active protesters and activists from different camps, because Campamento Pelicano started January of this year, but Campamento Carey was in Rincon. There was a controversy about a pool being built again illegally on a public domain on the beach,
and we've won that fight, right? Like y'all.
Yes, the Supreme Court.
We had to tear it down ourselves, basically.
Exactly. On July 4th of last year, Eliezer Molina invited people to come over and just like with our hands, let's get rid of all this illegal structure. And I felt like that was the most environmental sensitive way to demolish something, because we're worried about turtles. We have El Carey, which is why that camp was called Campamento Carey. El Carey is an endangered species. Possibly we're not going to have it around for the next 30, 50 years. Like, if this keeps happening, it's such a critical condition that our turtles are in right now. And our Taínos, they live with them, and it's such a shame that we've done this to our land. The animals that have been living here, all the beings which whom we share this beach, this coast with, are going extinct because of our actions and inaction. So, but 6 of the people that got arrested all were manifestors, all were protesters, which tells you another thing about, you know, justice system in Puerto
So before we
Rico.
talk about the events that are happening next few days, what if someone's online watching this and is very upset, how can they support the activism that's going on right now?
First of all, like, we need as much exposure to what's going on. So I encourage you to follow Campamento Pelicano, which is, like, I see that you tagged them underneath. But there's also Campamento Carey. All the camps that have been set up. There's Defendiendo Cueva del Indio and Arecibo, which is another historical site. They set up a campamento they called Campamento Murciélago. There's Campamento Cangrejo, which was in Luquillo, fighting against the wetland, which is another protected by federal law, another resource that's protected by federal and local laws, and nobody seems to care. There's a Marriott, I think it's a Fairland, being built there right now. So it's like different camps that they need help with food, ice, water, whatever you can donate to them. You can write a DM or an inbox and say, hey, I'm from the diaspora, I'm from the States, I want to help. How can I help? What do you need? Where can I send money to? And they'll go and buy whatever. Sometimes we need like casetas, you know, for people to stay there, or food to feed everybody in the camp. Sometimes like they cook for everyone, but they don't have all the ingredients. So or gas money for the protesters to get from point A to point B, or for defense, because sometimes, you know, we have to face the law for protecting our land, and we don't have the means, you know, legally. So whatever you can do to help us out, spread the message, a like, a share, or like donate, that will be so helpful for the fight. Also, I encourage you to pick up the phone and call your local congressman, congresswoman, your local politicians, to get involved and to make a stance. There's also EPA authorities where you can like do files. There's Fish and Wildlife. There's NOAA. They're all stated here in Puerto Rico, and NOAA, actually, NOAA, they have a reef restoration right there in La Cueva Las Golondrinas. So it's amazing that they're so active with protecting the environment, but when we're faced with these threats, these agencies, they have nothing to say. They have nothing to do.
Unbelievable.
And it's amazing.
And a lot of those people, I mean, most of those people that work with those agencies are Puerto Ricans. So, you know, we have to, and I know I know it's a good job. You got a nice federal government job. Someone tells you to look the other way, but you got to do the right thing.
Exactly.
Tell us about the marcha coming up here that people can see the flyer on the screen.
Yeah, this is called La Marcha de los Pelícanos, or the Pelican March. It's been organized by El Campamento Pelicano. It's going to be on Friday, this Friday, February 10th at 8 a.m. We're going to be marching from El Campamento Pelicano, which is right at the entrance of this 2 developments. And we're going to be marching to the courthouse, because we're going to fight for the injunction for the court to stop these illegal permits, because we've done it all. Like, we've run to the mayor, he has done nothing. The municipal, La Asamblea Municipal, they set up a motion to stop and revocate revocar los permisos. That has done nothing. The DRNA, they've emitted an order, and that's it. Like, there's no consequence. There's like an impunity to every legal action done by people with power. So we're gonna keep on pressuring, and we're gonna keep on raising our voices for justice, and to get our cueva back, and to get our cliff back, because that belongs to the people, not to Carlos Roman.
Exacto. Wilmar Vazquez, thank you so much. I'm going to give you a moment to share su mensaje final en español for the Puerto Rican Latino community. But I just wanted to share that you have our support, 100%. We want to figure out how we can be helpful. I have some ideas. I think we need to probably provide a little more direction for our activists, because I think there's kind of there's the supporting the activists on the ground day to day in terms of financial support, which I think is relatively easy to do with our modern technology. But you know, we've got to make it as easy as possible. So cash apps and things like that. But then the other part of it is that we have to put some real pressure. You know, I just keep going back to Richie. Richie was assaulted. Richie was shot at. and and then someone needs to go to prison for that, so and then obviously the ultimate goal, which is to get this structure torn down and bring let the cueva really truly get back to the community and to nature. Wilmar Vazquez, I want to give you an opportunity to share your final message to our community in Español. So please let us know any final thoughts you have and on this edition of Bomba Live.
Pues primero que nada, gracias por prestarle atención a este tema. Muchas veces nosotros en la isla nos sentimos olvidados o nos sentimos como dejados atrás, ¿verdad? Y envueltos a veces en el insularismo, los que leyeron el escrito de Antonio S. Pedreira, y nos quedamos envueltos en esta burbuja, pero igual que nosotros tenemos una conexión a esta tierra, desde aquí, desde la isla, ustedes también la tienen en la diáspora, compartimos la misma sangre, compartimos la misma cultura, compartimos el mismo lenguaje y el mismo amor por esta tierra. Y eso es lo que nosotros estamos haciendo. Nosotros estamos luchando por amor. Nosotros no estamos luchando por odio. Nosotros no estamos luchando por ninguna otra razón que no sea amor a la tierra que nos vio nacer y amor a las próximas generaciones que merecen disfrutar de lo mismo que nosotros hemos disfrutado aquí. Y cuando ustedes vengan de vacaciones o quieran venir en el retiro de nuevo a su isla, que ustedes puedan tener playas, que ustedes puedan tener ríos, calzo, que puedan tener todos los animales que llevan viviendo aquí por milenios y que siga sucediendo, ¿verdad? Este reclamo por justicia, y lo vamos a lograr, pero tenemos que lograrlo juntos. Mi reclamo, ¿verdad? O mi súplica a la diáspora es que no se olviden de sus raíces. Sabemos que de alguna forma u otra siempre están intentando, ¿verdad?, mantenerse conectados a esta tierra, y la tierra nos está llamando ahora mismo. La tierra nos está suplicando que la defendamos porque ella no se puede defender sola. Así que nada, ese es mi pedido.
Wilmar Vazquez, I tell people, they say, why do you do the show? Like, you have a life, you have a job, you got all kinds of things going on. And I think about, even when it's hard to do the show, I'll be honest with you, because life happens and, you get busy and it takes time, it takes a lot of effort. And ultimately, why I do the show is that I grew up, as I was sharing with you before the show started, I grew up in Philadelphia in a very tight-knit segregated Puerto Rican community. And there was always, they called my neighborhood the Badlands, like the media, and, talk about the media narratives, right? And I was always confused because I'm like, and mad about it, because I was like, you're saying that we're bad and everyone around me is wonderful and smart and spiritual and talented and especially my abuelos and my mom and my family, my dad, like really decent people. I mean, gente de orocovi. I mean, imagine mami, that's lo boricua de verdad. And other people, and just thinking about people like my mom, my mother-in-law, like came from the campo to like build their families' lives here. And it's so important that we honor that. And so I'm so thankful to you, because look, with your skill set, you could be doing anything you wanted in marketing and business and you use your talents and abilities to save our island. And I really admire that. And this is my humble contribution to the real work you and your family is doing. So, Wilmar Vazquez, thank you so much. Again, I want to thank Dean Huertas, my homie. Maybe he'll come back on the show now that we brought his friend. He's so busy living his best life, but we will get him back on soon. And I want to thank Dean, because he's really kept me, he really made this happen, and has been a great friend. Even though I don't think I've ever met Dean in person, but he keeps pendiente with me.
He's
and
amazing.
all the cool friends he has, and he still hangs out with me. It's very nice of him. Continue to support Campamentos Pelicano de Aguadilla, of course, in Carey. We're going to share all those social media handles when we release this episode. Wilmar Vazquez, thank you so much.
Thank
best
you.
to the family. And please give Angel, Richie, and his family our best. And please keep us posted how we can support el movimiento ahí in Puerto Rico. Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias.
We're going to end the show, Bomba Live, with a few other best of clips. You're not watching the background, because I know you're going to like these clips. The first clip is actually a very famous Puerto Rican salsero expressing his love for me publicly. And then we're going to have some laughs about some of our favorite subjects, Puerto Rican cooking. Mi gracias, Wilmar. When you came out in the scene, that was really such a our generation contributing to the culture and history of Salsa was so important to me. And, you were such a big part of that. And then to meet you and find out you're a real person and you're a class act in every way, and actually then really care about things. And we connected on that level around society and the world. So you've been such a great representation. I remember when you went on Christina's show as a young guy, and most of the Puerto Ricans, we speak Spanish, but not that good. And they were floored how good your Spanish was.
The world, you got Joe Budden, you got
Nori in Miami. Yeah.
La gente no sabe que es Boricua. I love you for that, Ray, because you're just as much hip hop as you are Latin. And
I got a few questions for you, okay? I've been dying to ask a Puerto Rican chef que wears a Puerto Rican hat, got cuatros in the background, got a flag. Olvídate, you represent. Okay. Okay, here we go. Ready? Pastelillo de guayaba, ¿con queso o sin queso?
Sin queso.
Thank you. Oh my God. Where the church
sin queso.
When they put queso in that, yo me pongo tan malo. Why you putting queso, man? I said guayaba. I don't need queso. You know what? Use that space and put more guayaba. Okay.
That's it.
Pasteles. ¿Con ketchup o sin ketchup?
Con ketchup.
This is my man, yo. We know you. I'm booking you. I'm booking you.
There you go,
Sin ketchup.